Bad Mechs, The Chameleon, written by Sean of Sarna.net, read by Shrapnel. "Hey!" greeted Cadet Daphne. Kilbourne's arid climate often meant temperatures soared into the 30s during the height of the summer, with students at Kilbourne Academy given time off in the afternoons for a time-honoured tradition known as a siesta. Only some students could nap as the barracks' woefully insufficient air conditioning meant that the temperatures indoors was scarcely lower than outdoors. Sleepless cadets would wander the academy grounds and socialise, as cadets Daphne and Rory did frequently. "Hey," Rory responded. Daphne could see perspiration collecting from the inside of his wide-brimmed hat and the heat flushing his ruddy cheeks. Rory's heft was a rare sight at Kilbourne Academy, especially on a student, but he was an easy companion to talk to while the rest of the training battalion rested in their bunks. "You heard of the Colonel's visit?" Rory broke the silence with a question that caught Daphne off guard. "What Colonel?" "The Colonel. Colonel Winston Abarian. The guy in charge of the whole academy." Rory wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. "They say he's going to be inspecting the cadets and selecting the best for the militia." Daphne kicked a rock and watched it spiral off into the chasm distressingly free of fencing. "Not like a first year like me is going to make the cut." The two stood in silence, looking out at the barren wastes that surrounded Kilbourne Academy. "There's also a new mech coming. A Chameleon." "So what?" Daphne kicked another rock and counted the seconds until she heard it bounce off the side of the canyon. "We have a half dozen of those things in the mech bay. They're older than the inner sphere and they smell like it too." Rory laughed. She liked the way he laughed. "Ha ha ha ha. True, but this one's brand new." The way he said it made her think that its newness was somehow notable. "So what? A new training mech is still a training mech." "Haven't you heard?" Daphne shook her head, and Rory continued. "There's a rumour going round that there's a bounty hunter who sneaks into military academies to assassinate high-ranking officers. He gets in with a chameleon that is set to make everyone think it's just another training mech, but it's actually armed to the teeth with clan-grade tech." Daphne snorted. "Sounds ridiculous. And you think this Colonel Abarian has a price on his head?" Rory shrugged. "Just seems a weird coincidence is all." Just then, the unmistakable sound of a battle mech stomping across the parade grounds made the two cadets turn. It was the new Chameleon, still in primer grey, marching across the dusty field. They watched it turn directly towards them, picking up speed as its legs pumped like a sprinter until it was right on top of them. Cadets Rory and Daphne shared a panicked glance at the chasm behind them, then the charging battle mech in front of them. "You don't think this guy thinks we're officers, right?" Rory asked. Then the Chameleon suddenly slowed, coming to a complete stop mere meters in front of the astounded students. It slumped its shoulders and bent its knees as though taking a much-needed breather from its initial sprint, and then clouds of steam came billowing out from every vent the mech had. The mech pilot soon emerged, nearly beet red and taking in great lungfuls of arid air. Once he'd caught his breath, what looked like a technician called down to the two cadets.
"Sorry about that. I forgot to turn on this Chameleon's heat sinks. Good thing this thing shut down before I ran off this here cliff."
The technician coughed again, then asked,
"Have either of you seen Colonel Abarian?"
"No," the two cadets said in unison, then both walked briskly towards the students' barracks. Learning to command the deadly technologies given to soldiers has always required specialised tools. Simulation and virtual reality can provide soldiers with most of the knowledge they'll need, but there's still nothing better than the real thing. Thus, the Chameleon provides mech warriors with necessary hands-on training before being thrust into combat. Introduced in the year 2510, the Chameleon is one of the oldest mechs in existence and even predates the founding of the Star League. The go-to training mech for Terran hegemony forces, the TRC-4B, would go on to become the standard for mech warrior instruction across the Inner Sphere, thanks to numerous systems designed specifically to teach mech warriors the importance of every mech systems. and for its ability to mimic other mechs while in a training environment. Onboard systems allowed the Chameleon to mirror the electronic signature and take on the movement profile of almost any mech. A combination of virtual and augmented reality programs then gave the trainee the impression their unpowered training lasers were autocannons, PPCs, or other weapons that the Chameleon didn't actually possess. In addition to being able to modify its appearance and performance, both electronically and with special armor plates, the Chameleon was also vital in teaching potential mech warriors how to manage a battle mech's heat load. The Chameleon's heat sinks could be disabled or enabled individually, and software would automatically lock both weapons and jump jets if the trainee's heat levels rose too high. This avoided a full shutdown, but not a scathing rebuke from trainers. The TRC-4B Chameleon, also known as the CHM-3 Training Scout, was the most common training mech during the Star League and for much of the Succession Wars. It came armed with 1 large laser, 2 medium lasers, 4 small lasers, and 2 machine guns. Only 10 single heat sinks kept the mech cool, forcing the pilot to learn how to volley fire their largely energy-based weapons. Defiance Industries would continue to produce the Chameleon until 3052, when the manufacturer decided to retool the Chameleon line to produce the new Night Sky. Defiance then sold the design to JB Battlemechs in 3053, who began producing new Chameleons on the planet Storefors in 3056. The CLN-7V was largely similar to the TRC-4B, but had 3 small lasers instead of 4. Its VLAR 300 engine gave it a top speed of 97 kph, and its 6 jump jets allowed it to leap up to 180 meters. 10 single heat sinks were still insufficient to keep the mech cool if it began to fire all of its weapons, and 7 tons of armor was sufficient protection for a mech that wasn't intended to see combat. However, JB Battlemechs did consider a combat role for the Chameleon with the CLN-7W. This variant replaced the small lasers and machine guns with a medium pulse laser, upgraded the large laser to an extended range laser, and upgraded the single heat sinks to doubles. The CLN-7Z went even further, replacing the standard engine with an extra light version, which allowed this Chameleon to mount 2 large lasers, a single large ER laser, 12 double heat sinks, and 10.5 tons of armor, nearly the maximum a mech of this size could carry. While the 7W and 7Z would see some sales, the 7V remained the most popular variant, especially with the Inner Sphere's Mech Warriors training academies. It was so popular that someone would use that popularity to allegedly infiltrate academies with the intent of murdering high-ranking officers. The CLN-7VQ was known to be armed with a heavy PPC and capacitor and 3 ClanTech improved heavy-medium lasers, all tied to a targeting computer. The Chameleon's mimicry systems were combined with an Angel ECM to make detecting this ambush predator all the more difficult. Despite the general panic this variant caused to academies throughout the 3070s, only a single kill has ever been attributed to the CLN-7VQ and its mysterious pilot. Modern variants of the Chameleon continue the training mech's traditions of being generally too hot for its weapons to teach pilots how to avoid a shutdown. The CLN-8V from JB Battlemechs comes with 12 double heat sinks for 1 ER large laser, 3 medium X-pulse lasers, 2 medium lasers and 2 machine guns. Case 2 and 9 tons of armor give this mech far better protection than its predecessor, but it finds itself unable to fire its full weapons complement effectively. The CLN-9V is Defiance Industries' first new Chameleon in decades. A light engine, 6 tons of heavy ferrofibrous armor, and a reinforced internal structure make this Chameleon extraordinarily tough. Although, some question the wisdom of reduced armor protection in favor of stronger internals. A light PPC, 2 ER medium lasers, 3 small X-pulse lasers, and 2 machine guns a generally lighter firepower than most Chameleons, but at least the 10 double heatsinks keep the CLN-9V cooler than the CLN-8V. Although it remains largely outclassed by other 50-ton battle mechs, the Chameleon's unique capabilities have allowed it to retain its spot as the Inner Sphere's premium training mech for centuries. Even a relatively brief episode of an alleged assassin only increased sales with JB battle mechs. Some speculate the whole thing was a marketing stunt, and the single confirmed kill was a terrible example of corporate greed resulting in loss of life. It wouldn't be the first time, and it certainly won't be the last time. Alrighty, simmer down class, let's discuss the Chameleon. This will be brief. I have never played it on tabletop. The times that I have played it have been in HBS Battletech, and all I can say is it's an okay mech. It's got a lot of slots for a lot of weapons available, but not enough to make it good at any one particular thing. When you compare it to the actual dedicated mechs like the Centurion or the Bushwhacker, it can't really keep up. Although it is good on mobility, and if you max armor, you sacrifice some firepower, but you've got a good backstabber at 50 tons. That's not too bad. What I can say though, is that with the new redesign in the Ill Clan rec guides, and with the new plastic mini coming in the Merc box sets, I think this mech is about to get some much needed love on the tabletop. Really encourage everyone to give it a try. I know I'm going to when I can get my hands on one, and I'm excited to see what I can do with it. So what do you guys think of the Chameleon? Do you love it, like it, hate it, never played it, never want to play it? Are you excited to try a whole new way of panicking about heat scales? Because that's what this mech's going to do if you take one of the standard variants. And if you're anything like me, you're going to cook and there's ammo in there. So make sure ejection's on, everyone. And I've been Shrapnel, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!